Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to Week 8 of the Fantasy 15 podcast. Dippers, we are almost at the halfway point of the NFL regular season, and it is a bummer, if I do say so myself. Dippers, as always, I am your host, joined by the man, the producer, Leighton Pip Shaventone.
Hello, Joe, with definitely a touchdown pass in Week 8.
And he is back, so the meat stud stack of the week is sitting right next to me, and that is Mr. Lex Glasgow.
Take Thor's hammer the over the Rams-Packers game right now.
Yes, I've already done that. I'm going to bet again. I'm going to bet it every single day, maybe it's every single hour until the game starts. I'm all about that. Lex, how did the plumbing situation go? Did you get all the pipes fixed and everything?
All pipes are clean.
All
Cleaned
pipes
out?
are
All
clean.
pipes are clean.
Good deal. So what was the issue with that?
Well, it's undisclosed issue. I can't really talk about it. It might get me in trouble if I do.
Oh, I see.
Maybe some undercover stuff, some little secret stuff Lex got going on here. I don't know about that, Lex, but as long as you bring us back with another meat stud that gets us 50-plus points, we'll keep you around. Dippers, as always, be sure to follow on Spotify. Be sure to subscribe, rate, download, 5-star review every single week. In case you guys aren't familiar with how this show works, basically the first half, the majority of the show, basically DFS breakdown, will tell you who you should be hammering, how you can win some money, a little bit of ideas with your lineups, and just basically who the smart plays are for your fantasy week. Leighton C., producer, before we get to any of that, you know what to do. Fantasy 15, a sauce on the side production. Alright guys, let's start off hot and heavy. QB1, like we do every single week. I see Lex has got a ton of stats about Aaron Rodgers pulled up over there. He's ready to fire. He told you to hit the over. Lex, who is your QB1 of Week 8?
I'm going with my guy. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. Last 2 games, he's thrown for over 400 yards. Rodgers has not done that in a long time. He's thrown the ball 98 times the last 2 games. He might have to throw the ball 98 times in this game just to keep up pace. He's coming off the bye week. We love the Packers off a bye week because Mike McCarthy's only lost 1 game in his career. Somehow, someway, Mike McCarthy is God off the bye week. Hammer the Packers.
No. It's not Mike McCarthy's lost 1 game. It's Aaron Rodgers has lost 1 game off the bye week.
Well, we'll just say it's Mike McCarthy somehow. Yeah. We'll just say that.
Yeah, Lex nailed it. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's the only quarterback over $8,000 that I like at all. The other guy I'm playing above him, not above him, but a high-priced guy, Jameis Winston against Cincinnati. Okay, that game's going to be a shootout. And Jameis, well, I don't think he's a good NFL quarterback by any terms of the word. He puts up good fantasy points because his defense can't stop anybody, and he just launches the ball out there.
Yeah.
You got to deal with the turnovers, but he gets yards, gets points.
Yeah, we'll take the turnovers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always look at the turnovers as a plus side. The other team gets the ball, scores, makes them throw the ball more. I'm all in on Aaron Rodgers. He could be playing the 85 Bears defense. As long as this Rams offense takes the field on the other side, I am playing Aaron Rodgers. Playing Aaron Rodgers, you don't even look at what defense he's playing. You look at what other offense is out there. If that other offense is going to score points, Aaron Rodgers is going to do his thing. He's going to put up 400 yards. He's done it back-to-back weeks, like Lex said. And the only reason he did that is because his team needed every single yard. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go down there, make a mockery of the Rams defense. I think the Packers even win this game. 3 straight weeks, Aaron Rodgers will have 400 yards. Guys, cheap price QBs. I know we were all over the cheap price quarterbacks last week. We did pretty good. Lex, where are you going?
For me this week, I think the lowest I'm going to go is, like Leighton said, Jameis Winston. I might also dive into Andy Dalton some, too. He's playing the worst scoring defense in all of the NFL right now. He's got A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd, who are just setting the world on fire. I think you got to go with Andy Dalton as well.
Yeah, I like Andy Dalton, but him and it's on the same price. That's always kind of a conundrum for me. I come with one guy instead of mixing it up. For my cheap option, go with Case Keenum. He's $7,000. And just like with Jameis Winston, just like Aaron Rodgers, this game should be a game where he has to score a point, has to throw the football around. And no Royce Freeman, so the big running back's gone. I think Case Keenum had the opportunity to throw the ball maybe 30 to 40 times and get some serious yards against a bad defense.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening, especially like you said, without Royce Freeman, kind of just using the passing game as an extension of the run. The quarterback I'm going with, guys, I'm riding the well. I've been on the hot hand since the hot hand started. Out of this slate of quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks over the last 4 weeks have accumulated over 100 fantasy points. Patrick Mahomes with 102, Mitch Trubisky with 104, and Andrew Luck with 106. Both Luck and Mahomes have played 4 games. Mitch has only played 3. So Mitch has been the absolute hot hand. He's been the best fantasy quarterback in his last 3 games. So I'm going all in on Mitch Trubisky. I actually love it. If I'm not playing Aaron Rodgers, I'm playing Mitch Trubisky. In the Jets, forfeiting over 320 yards per game over their last 4, including a game of 388 yards to Blake Bortles and 377 yards to Case Keenum. So this defense has holes. I expect the Bears to continue to look like they have been on offense, and they're just going to throw the ball all over the field. And the run, his legs, that's just added bonus. Which I don't think this will be a huge legs game. Deron Lee's way too fast. All right, so we'll go ahead and go to running backs. Guys, we've been going to the very, very top every single week. Is there any reason to change? Lex, what do you think?
I think this is the one week where you do get away from Todd Gurley because $11,000 is so much. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to look at a guy like Kareem Hunt for $8,100. Over the 3 of the last 4 weeks, he's had over 130 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns. He's kind of going overlooked right now because of the way Mahomes and Tyreek Hill are just setting the world on fire.
Absolutely.
I think Kareem Hunt is an amazing play. The weakness of this Denver Bronco defense is the rush defense. They're 31st in the league right now. I think you need to put Kareem Hunt in damn near every lineup.
Yeah, Lex, I understand your fear of going away from Todd Gurley, $11,000. And yes, I do love Saquon Barkley, Kareem Hunt, and James Conner. Love all those guys. But you play Todd Gurley because $11,000, but he's going to make up for a spot in your lineup that potentially you miss on. And if you have him just nail every spot in your lineup, you hit the nuts.
Yeah, I am big on Todd Gurley. I mean, Vegas has the Rams finding the end zone between 4 and 5 times this week. Gurley scored 14 of the 25 touchdowns from the team. 14 of their 25 touchdowns have been Todd Gurley. That is absolutely insane for offensive production. I think I'm going to pay up for Todd Gurley a couple times just so I have the exposure to him, just because he is going to get you almost 30 fantasy points. But Lex, you hit it on the head, dude. I'm looking at the Broncos against running backs right now. Against Kansas City, which would have been Kareem Hunt, 127 rushing yards to opposing running backs. Then you go to the Jets game, 318 yards. Then whenever they played the Rams, 232. I know that they kind of bottled up Arizona, but everybody's been bottling up Arizona. I think that Kareem Hunt will pop. I think that Kareem Hunt will score right up there with Todd Gurley, and you're getting him at a premium price compared to Todd Gurley. So I think that's the smart move this week, to fade Todd Gurley and go with Kareem Hunt. Guys, cheap price running backs, where are we going?
I'm going down to Chris Carson for $6,300. He's playing the Detroit Lions, who have a terrible rush defense. They just who they just traded for? Snacks Harrison from the Giants.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to make a big impact right away.
No.
He's still learning that system. Look for Chris Carson to have a big game. The last couple times he's been out, he's been banged up, and he just played in London last week. Throw that game out. The last 2 games he had over 100 yards and over 50 touches. Go ahead and put Chris Carson in.
Yeah, I love Chris Carson play. I think I'm going to go with it, Philip Lindsay, $6,500. So earlier there is no Royce Freeman. Philip Lindsay gets catches. He also gets quite a few carries. Going to Kansas City defense in a game where they have to have a high-tempo offense to keep up. I like Philip Lindsay a lot, $6,500.
I absolutely love both those options, honestly. I'm all in on Chris Carson. I mean, 6,300, 137, okay? That is how many yards the Lions have averaged on the ground to opposing running backs. I think this is going to be the week that Chris Carson gets 30 carries because, Pete Carroll is a very smart coach. He's going to do what his team needs to do to win, and that's going to be pound Carson down their throat 30 times. He's no he's no stranger to doing that. He's already done that one time this year against Dallas. Carson had 30 totes. We were all in on Carson just a couple weeks ago. Had a 10-yard touchdown run, get wiped off the board. I think that he's going to have 30 chances to score this week, and I am all in on Chris Carson. Basically, any running back that plays the Lions. So, guys, high-priced wide receiver, where are we looking? There's a lot of good options this week.
I'm looking right now at A.J. Green. The last 3 weeks, he's averaging over 10 targets a game and well over 100 yards. Hasn't found the end zone. Well, we know that's going to change at some point with A.J. Green because he's just a monster target in the red zone.
He's not Julio Jones.
He's not Julio Jones. Tampa Bay, I think I could go out there and run routes against Tampa Bay's pass defense. We know A.J. Green is one of the best route runners in the league. A.J. Green's going to have a monster game.
Yeah, AJ Green is my top choice for a high-priced wide receiver, but my next choice is Davante Adams, just because talked about with good quarterbacks like Winston and Keenum and Rodgers, they have to have high-level offenses to keep up the scoring. Adams, I think he can have 2, maybe even 3 touchdowns in this game because he's honestly in the red zone right now, just looks unbeatable.
Yeah, as far as Leighton, I think you hit it on the head, man. Like Davante Adams, he is the go-to guy this week. I mean, you go ahead and start throwing stats at me. You pull up the fact that the Rams have given up the 9th fewest points to opposing wide receivers. But really, who is scared of anyone from Oakland, San Francisco, or the Arizona Cardinals? They gave up 30 fantasy points total in those 3 games, kind of deflating their numbers. And you look at the against teams that actually have good wide receiving cores, like the Chargers, they put up 35 points. The Vikings, 76. Seattle, 39. Denver even put up 48. So I'm all in on Rodgers, and Rodgers comes out and says, Davante Adams wakes up with a hot hand. Well, guess what he's going to do on Sunday morning? He will wake up with that hot hand. He's Rodgers' most trusted target, and if I think Rodgers is going to have a 400-plus yard game, Davante Adams gets $150 of those. So, guys, cheap wide receivers. I noticed that there was a lot to love. Maybe because of the Amari Cooper trade, they didn't really fix the pricing to that because they didn't have the option to. But where are we going with the cheap wide receivers?
This week for my cheap wide receiver, I'm going down to 6,300. I'm taking Chris Godwin. I think that game is going to be a high-scoring game between Tampa Bay and Cincinnati. Look for Jameis to be spreading the ball over because he likes to spread the ball around. And Chris Godwin is quietly going under the radar, averaging over 10 fantasy points a game. I think he could hit well over his value this week, close to that 18 to 20 point range in my opinion.
I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd. I've been on him all season. Last week he had a bad game, but Andy Dalton had an absolutely miserable game. I expect a big bounce back on Andy Dalton, basically the entire Cincinnati offense. Expect Tyler Boyd to get back in that 15 and 20 point range.
Yeah, I'm all in on Tyler Boyd. I kind of prefer Tyler Boyd over A.J. Green this week just because he's $2,000 cheaper. I want all I can have against Tampa Bay because their secondary is absolutely atrocious. So I think Tyler Boyd does get back into that 100-yard range and finds the end zone at least once. But the cheap wide receiver, I'm really all on. Martavis Bryant, 5,300. He's been the best wide receiver Oakland's had all season. Now he's going to get a chance to prove it. He's going to be out there with the starting lineup. He is going to be on the field almost every single snap, and he gets to jump right into the lineup, kind of where Amari Cooper was. And this defense that he's playing with the Colts, other than last week, you kind of wipe that off because they were playing the Bills. The 3 previous weeks before that, they gave up 150 total points to fantasy wide receivers. So I'm all in on Martavis Bryant. I think this is going to be kind of the game where we all sit there and we laugh that John Gruden cut him in week 1. So guys,
before we move on, you said earlier there are a lot of cheap wide receivers. I just want to name off like 4 or 5 guys who are $5,200 or cheaper that you can play a whole lot of. Drama Allison, Chester Rogers, Taylor Gabriel, Christian Kirk, Martavis Bryant, Colton Sutton. All 5,700 and cheaper. All guys who have really good upside.
Guys, don't be scared of Jermaine Kersey either.
Jermaine Kersey. I think on him because his price went lower. He's $4,800 now.
Yeah, last week was the biggest outlier ever. I apologize to everybody for telling you that Jermaine Kersey was going to go off. He didn't, but don't be scared to go after him because nobody will this week. So guys, tight ends. We do tight ends a little different. We don't go high and low. We just talk about the options we love. Lex, where are you going with your tight end?
I'm going back to Andrew Luck's guy, not Jack Doyle, but Eric Ebron. He says he's always looking the ball to get the get the ball to Jack Doyle, but I think what he really meant was I'm always looking to throw to the tight end, and he loves Eric Ebron. I think this is a get right week for him. Look for him to have a big game and a lot of targets.
I'll get two guys real quick. One being O.J. Howard. He is a vital part of that passing game right now in Tampa Bay. They said game should have a whole lot of passing in it. Another one's David Njoku. I don't love Cleveland this week, but Njoku appears to be Baker's favorite target. Touchdown, back-to-back games. Expecting another big game for David Njoku.
Yeah, I actually like O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard's 5,800. And in games that he didn't get hurt this season, we kind of wiped that Bears game off because he did get hurt. He's had between 54 and 96 yards. No more, no less. He has been a model of consistency. This game's going to be a shootout. I want all the O.J. Howard I can have. Last time you're going to get him under 6,000. Guys, he is a top 5 tight end athletically. He is a freak of nature. He's one of the few tight ends in the NFL that has the big play ability. And we saw it last week, guys. Cincinnati they can give up a big play. And you look at this Bengals defense, 3 games this season already in the 7 that they played, 3 games. They gave up over 100 receiving yards to tight ends. So, guys, defense, where are we looking? We kind of do it the same way we do at tight ends. What's your favorite defense here?
You know, I think the top, if you can afford it, is you play the Bears going against the Jets this week. But I'm going to go down a little bit, and I'm going to look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, they're second in the league in sacks, and they're right in the middle in points allowed. But think about this. They're coming off a bye week. They're tough on rookie quarterbacks, especially at home. Baker's coming there. They're starting to get a little film out on Baker now. We've seen that he's prone to turn the ball over some. I'd look for the Steelers to score close to about that 15 to 18 point range.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. If you want the high ceiling, you're going with the Bears. I don't understand FanDuel's touchdown defense this week with the Colts being second highest, then Panthers, Redskins, Rams, Seahawks. But like I said, I'm going Bears. I'm going with Steelers. I feel like this is a safe play, and they can get you that 15, 16 points.
Yeah, I look at the Bears here, priced at 5,000. Very high price this week. Whenever you look at defenses, their pricing makes 0 sense this week. Like, they're treating the Colts as if they're a good defense. The Jets have given up a sack, an interception, and 1 fumble. All 3 of those in all but 1 game this season. So I'm going to be big on the Bears, but my cheaper flex 2 option, just like you guys said, the Steelers. At some point, this defense will stand up. I don't think that Baker Mayfield is good enough to not turn the ball over, good enough to not get sacked. I think that the Steelers defense is going to have a huge week. I think the Steelers are going to blow the Browns out this week, and if I think they're going to blow them out, I have to love the defense. So Steelers, Bears, those are the play. So guys, big priced options, big money flops. Where do we see guys that are going to flop that are at that high price?
I'm going right to Saquon Barkley. I think he's played over his head all season. I don't think this is a good week for him to have a big game. You know, the Redskins have had one of the best defenses in all of the NFL. Somehow, some way, nobody really saw this coming with them. I think you need to also stay away from a guy like Andrew Luck playing out in Oakland. I don't see him having a great game. He might throw the ball 60 times, but he still might not score you 30 points.
Lex and Saquon Barkley to automatic 20 points. But I'm definitely going to fade OBJ going against Josh Norman. Historically, just can't beat Josh Norman physically or figurative way. I'm also going to avoid Joe Mixon against Tampa Bay. I'm also going to avoid Chris McCaffrey against Baltimore.
Yeah, I actually agree with Lex. I'm not going to be big on Saquon this week. I think this is the week that he's going to come back to reality.
Both nuts.
I don't. That front 7 is the moneymaker for that Washington defense, and I think Saquon with that offensive line is going to be running straight into a brick wall. So I'm not going to be all over it. I also don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to pay off for 9,200. We've seen him kind of come back to reality a little bit. He's scoring basically at the same clip that Andrew Luck is, but yet he's the only quarterback priced over 9,000. So I'm going to stay away from that. Also, I don't think James Conner is going to repeat what he did last time against the Browns. I think a lot of people are going to look at week 1 for James Conner. They're going to be all over him. They're I think that's just crazy to think that. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey. Baltimore might have the best defense in football. I'm going to stay very, very clear of that. And T.Y. Hilton. I know that Oakland's defense has been susceptible to big plays, but he just didn't look right last week. I know he ended up having 16 fantasy points, but he only had 25 yards and 4 catches. Had it not been for 2 touchdowns, he would have had an abysmal fantasy week. So I think I'm going to steer clear of all of those guys. So, meat stud alert, guys. This is where we're looking for 30 points out of a quarterback, 20 points out of a skill player. What guys do we see popping off this week?
I'm looking at any of the Rams wide receivers. I'm looking at some of the Packers players. I will also want you to look at guys like going to Big Ben. He's playing at home this week. Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, Mitch Trubisky. I'll throw him out there too. All of your top wide receivers, I see them having big weeks. Also, I'd throw in Tyreek Hill. He might have one of his big games too.
Yep, everybody like said, throw in there James Conner, Smith-Schuster. Love Mike Evans. And I'm going to go a little sleeper here and Tariq Cohen. I think he had another big game against the Jets at home.
Yeah, my big money guys that I think they're going to hit, get you 20 points. Kareem Hunt, I'm locking him in. Chris Carson, he's going to get you 20 this week. I am huge on Chris Carson. I think Philip Lindsay does have I think he has the ability to find the end zone twice. They will put up points. We just don't know where it's going to come from. I think Philip Lindsay is one of those options. Todd Gurley, he's always a meat stud. He's always going to get you 20 points. I think the 2 quarterbacks that are on meat stud alert that are going to get you 30, Aaron Rodgers, Mitch Trubisky. I love everything about the wide receiving core for the Rams. Just like Lex said, Devontae Adams, I want everything in that game. But basically, meat stud alert, Robert Woods, Devontae Adams, those are your 2 skill position players that are going to pop off for the most, hit you the most value. Lex Glasgow.
Lex Glasgow.
Lex Glasgow.
Lex Glasgow.
Lex Glasgow's meat stud stack of the week.
All right, Dippers, we're coming back this week. I missed last week, but this week might even be my favorite one of all. We're doing my boy, Aaron Rodgers, who's thrown for over 400 yards the last 2 games. He might throw for 500 this game. And you're looking at Devontae Adams, who has 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 19 catches over the last week. Rodgers is throwing the ball his way every second, and look for that to continue. Look for them to score in that 60-point range this week between the 2 of them.
I absolutely love those 2. I think that if you guys are building a lineup and you're looking at 2 guys to build around, I really think that Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are the way to go. So guys, it is time for your Sauce on the Side official lineup. So, I'm going to start it off hot and heavy, Mitch Trubisky. I think that he is going to be in a top 5 quarterback position once the week is, all the dust settles. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback. You're getting him out of that price range. So I'm going to start there. That way I can use more money on my skill players. Kareem Hunt, 8,100. I'm going to go against the grain and be off of Todd Gurley this week because Kareem Hunt will have a monster week. Running back, second one, Chris Carson. He is going to pop, and I want to be on that. He's going to get 30 touches this week, maybe through the air, maybe on the ground. You look at Mike Davis and you look at Rashad Penny, kind of got some work last week. It's because it was a blowout. This game means more. It's going to be closer. Chris Carson, the way to go. Cheap wide receiver right off the bat, Martavis Bryant. He's going to have a big week. He is the best wide receiver that Oakland has had on their team all season, and he's going to be jumping right into the starting lineup. I expect Carr to go to him early and often, and I think he will have a signature big play. Another wide receiver, Robert Woods. I want as much as I can from that Rams-Packers game without touching Todd Gurley, so I'm going Robert Woods. Robert Woods, 7,600. He's going to have a big week. If you just watch the game, I guess it would have been 2 weeks ago, Packers are susceptible to getting beat over the top. Robert Woods is the man at doing that. I know a lot of people are going to thank Brandon Cooks. I just don't know. I think that Robert Woods and Goff are kind of beaten on this they're more playing to the same beat than what Brandon Cooks is. I think Brandon Cooks is the better deep route wide receiver, but he has a better rapport with Robert Woods, so I'm leaning Woods. Devontae Adams, like I said, I want Aaron Rodgers' top target this week. I want exposure to Rodgers. and this is my exposure with Devontae Adams. And then O.J. Howard at tight end. Guys, I think this is going to be the game that we realize that O.J. Howard is as good as advertised. There's a reason why he was on everybody's draft board extremely high, and this is going to be the game where we kind of understand why this guy is top 5 athletically, one of the best tight ends in the NFL. At the flex position, I'm going Phillip Lindsay. I know he didn't have his best game against Kansas City last time, but Royce Freeman was in there stealing some of the carries. This is going to be Phillip Lindsay's job to lose at this point. I think this is going to be the week where he gets in there, they realize that he is a 3-down back, no matter what his size is, and he's going to get it right. And then defense. I want the Bears defense so bad, but I'm just not going to pay up for it. I would rather pay up elsewhere. I've gotten bit so bad with defenses. I'm going with the Steelers. We had talked about it. Baker Mayfield's turnover prone. The Browns are just not a good offense, and they have to go on the road in a rivalry game with the Steelers. I think the Steelers defense is going to kind of manhandle the Browns offense. So guys, we kind of broke down everything for a DFS perspective. One of the hot topics this week has been Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard from a season-long standpoint. Which running back are you guys leaning towards for the remainder of the season?
I have to go with Tariq Cohen because, Jordan Howard, he's getting 12, 15 carries a game, but he's getting like 40, 50 yards. Tariq Cohen's running the ball, he's catching the ball, and Matt Nagy's kind of shifted college style of offense. I don't want to call it college style anymore because a lot of teams run that style of offense, so what to call it, but Tariq Cohen's kind of made for that. He's a super exciting player and an exciting offense, and he's explosive. And Jordan Howard doesn't have the same kind of quickness he has for that offense to work.
I agree with Leighton. I think that Tariq Cohen is the guy they go with. I mean, he's averaging over 20 points a game the last couple of weeks. I think they're going to keep riding him as long as he stays healthy, especially with the way you can use him in so many ways. I think he's the guy you want.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. Jordan Howard, when he was in there the first few weeks, the offense just looked way different. I think this is the way that the offense was meant to be ran with Tariq Cohen. But Jordan Howard is still going to hold fantasy value just because he's going to fall into the end zone so much. And I think that from a season-long perspective, I think Tariq Cohen's going to have the majority of the yards, but I think Jordan Howard is going to have enough touchdowns to stay fantasy relevant. More of a flex, running back too. I think that for the remainder of the season, they're almost going to have identical seasons. I really do.
I don't know about further in the season. Like Jordan Howard's going to have Jordan Howard games where it's cold and just, nothing's working. Mitch can't throw the ball, save his life, and they're just going to run the ball down some team's throat.
Yeah, I agree. So guys, I'm trying to think of some fantasy stuff here. Okay, for the Oakland, been a mess. Offensively, defensively, basically everywhere. Who's going to benefit the most from Amari Cooper leaving?
It has to be Martavis Bryant, right? Because it's not going to be Derek Carr. Jordan Nelson will benefit, but this would be Martavis Bryant's chance to really show that he can be, a star receiver in the league. And he just has to do it. Now, we know he has the ability, but can he just do it for the next 9 games for him?
Do you think he's going to be the most fantasy relevant wide receiver for Oakland going forward?
Yes, definitely.
I think he'll be the most fantasy relevant wide receiver going forward for them. But I think the guy on that offense that gets the biggest uptick, not just because Amari Cooper's gone, Marshawn Lynch just went on IR too this week. I think Jared Cook also is going to be the main guy. He'll be a feature guy in that offense. Look for his targets to just go up by default right there. Derek Carr already likes the guy. John Gruden loves the tight end. I think Jared Cook also gets a huge uptick.
Yeah, I agree. I think Martavis Bryant will be the best wide receiver from here on out. I do think that Jared Cook's workload is going to go up. I think you hit it on the head there. I think those are the two guys that, if they are out on your waiver wire, I think you go snatch them up because, once playoffs roll around, Derek Carr and Martavis Bryant may have things going. Lex, you said you hit another big topic with Marshawn Lynch going on the IR. 2 running backs there that could be fantasy relevant. Doug Martin, Jalen Richard, where are you guys leaning?
Yeah, I wanted to hit on that, but I didn't get to. So looking DFS, I'm going to kind of fade them both because while me thought, okay, Jalen Richard going to get 10 Ks a game.
Both their prices went up.
They go up, but then John Gruden comes out Monday and says that Doug Martin is ready to be the feature back.
Yeah.
So I don't want to play. I'm going to have a share of Richard here and there, more than Martin for sure. But right now, I don't like either of them.
I think we got to see it before we dive into that and think, I'm going to go out and start one of these guys this week. I don't even think either one of them are a flex play right now. If you're a guy that had Marshawn Lynch, you might pick up Doug Martin just because of what John Gruden said, but also keep your eye on Jalen Richard.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting scenario there. I think Jalen Richard, I would be more apt to go get him because he is better as a pass catcher, and he does hold a lot of fantasy relevance in that aspect.
He's a better football player right now, too.
Yes, he's just a better football player, and if his carries do go up by 6 or 7 a game, he immediately becomes fantasy relevant, and he's a flex play.
He's an RB too. Like, he's as good as Jordan Howard would be.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely love that there. And we'll hit the last little topic before we sign off here. Amari Cooper going to the Cowboys. Does that affect anything? Do you think Amari Cooper's value is going to go up? Do you think any of the Cowboys' value is going to go down? Who do you think is going to be the biggest? Who's going to benefit the most from Amari Cooper going there, even if it is Amari Cooper? Or do you think it's kind of just a wash?
Well, I don't think anybody for Dallas's value can go down because, let's face it, wide receivers already had zero value to begin with. So I think the biggest push for this is Amari Cooper because Jason Garrett said on Monday that he thinks he's a cornerstone player, so that means he's going to be utilized in the offense. There's no doubting Amari Cooper's talent. It's his work ethic and ability to actually catch a football. He's fast, he runs good routes, he's big, he's strong. Can him Derek Carr your repertoire? I hope so, because I like Amari Cooper a lot, so hopefully Amari Cooper is good.
I think Amari Cooper does get an uptick, but I also think this helps Zeke out some. Because, they're facing a stacked box every time because, they don't have a guy they can throw the ball over the top to. Well, Amari Cooper can run every route in the route tree for them. I think this helps Zeke out a bunch by taking some of that load off of him every time he touches the ball. Look for him to actually have some more room now. His average yards per carry should go up with this.
I agree with you because it's not like they're going to take the ball out of Zeke's hands to throw it to Amari Cooper. Mm-hmm. Amari Cooper's just going to happen to be there on passing downs and, not even passing downs. Amari Cooper's just going to happen to be on the field every single play, and they're going to have to respect that. Mm-hmm. I don't think Dak is going to, just immediately make Amari Cooper, fantasy better from a fantasy standpoint. I think Amari Cooper's value is going to hold about the same, but I do think Zeke is going to be the biggest benefiter of this because basically all the other team had to do was put 8 guys in the box and then 2 guys in the flat, and you stopped Cole Beasley and Ezekiel Elliott, the only 2 guys on this offense. So I think that Amari Cooper will actually help the run game more so than what he's going to help Dak Prescott in the pass game. So guys, anything else before we wrap this bad boy up?
As always, make sure to show them on the one to take notes on the show. And do your lineups, because that's what I basically do every week. Have them hit one lineup, then do an hour research on it, change it 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Anyone that I like and go off it all.
Hammer it.
Hammer the over of the Packers-Rams game. And on that note, Dippers, for Drake, for Lex and his meat stud stack of the week, and our producer, Leighton C. Dippers, as always, stay saucy.